Happy Labor Day from the KSR Football Podcast, brought to you by friends of Cole, Nick Roush, that's Van Pyle, Adam Luckett, and Drew Franklin. Luckett's jaws are ready to rock and roll after getting them sawed into a week ago. The Cats saw rock. I don't know if that's the perfect terminology to use for that game. We're going to be talking all about it today, thanks to Friends of Cole, who's dedicated to informing and educating Kentucky citizens about the coal industry and its vital role in the state's future. Friends of Coal provides a united voice for an industry that has been and remains a critical economic contributor in Kentucky. By working together, we can provide good jobs and benefits for future generations. Coal is resilient, reliable, and affordable. Friends of Coal is a volunteer organization. Everyone is invited to be involved, which consists of proud Kentuckians and residents from beyond our borders. Just head on over to friendsofcoalkentucky.org to learn more. Oh, need some coal to fuel me. Coal keeps the lights on. Friends of Coal, proud presenting sponsors of the KSR Football Podcast this fall, where today we're talking about the Cats' 24-16 Week 1 victory over Toledo. That was a 10-2 game at halftime. Not exactly the prettiest football we've seen. There was some good, there was some bad, which means we're going to have an exciting hour to talk about it all. Van, he's already talked about some of it. He's got cut-ups. Van, I appreciate you giving the salute to Dante Dowdell. You were unaware of his game. I think we all were. And I think we're all appreciative that he gave us something to cheer for, because that was the one big pop from Saturday's game, that 70-yard run for a touchdown that really opened the floodgates to be able to secure that win at Kroger Field.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. When he broke the first wave, I'm like, oh, he's gonna get ran down. Oh, it's gonna be a good 20, 30 yard. But when he started separating, I mean, it wasn't like he just like the guy started closing, someone dove at his feet, tried to clip his heels at the 5 yard. No, he separated from DBs. I was not aware of that. And if he can do that, I think this running game can be special, because we need sometimes when the offensive line does their job, we need a home run every now and then. I'm sick of these singles and slap doubles. We need to get a home run, and that was a home run.
It was needed in the worst way. Drew was in the press box. You had your list of explosive plays. It wasn't a very long list, Drew.
Yeah, I was trying a new format for our post-game recap, so I'm kind of writing about every big play as it goes. Seemed like a good idea before kickoff. Here we are about to start the fourth quarter, and I have 3 sentences on my paper. I'm glad they did find that run game, though. At halftime, I had some conversations over at the coffee machine. I was not happy. 20 rushes for 60 yards, 3 yards a carry. All I hear all summer is the Wall's back. In this first game, we're just going to maul over Toledo. We got the mismatch. At halftime, I was very unhappy. So I'm glad they found it and leaned on that run in the fourth quarter and had a couple breakout runs to pull me back in.
The other part, too, that it's a double-edged sword with a lot of this. It reminds me of when you're talking about scrimmages or preseason practices and you're saying, well, was the offense playing well or was the defense being bad? And part of me wants to commend the Kentucky run game, but there were still only 4 plays of 15 yards or more, and one of those ended with a fumble. Like, there was a clear lack of explosiveness, but the rushing success rate was good. So it's like, it's kind of there, but it's not all the way there. You're just left wanting more, which I think is a big theme from week 1, is you're left wanting a little bit more.
Yeah, the craziest thing I think about the game was Seth McGowan had 18 touches, and then the farthest one the biggest game was for 7 yards. Like, that's really hard to do. Like, even if everything's going terrible, like to touch the football 18 times and to never gain more than 7 yards, it's pretty hard to do. So I think there was maybe some flukiness with the run game. I think overall they did kind of what they needed to do, and like they kind of deserved that 79-yard run to me towards the end of the game, because they had, I thought, kind of mostly controlled the game. It was really the passing game that really got them in trouble whenever they would drop back to pass. And so I think we saw Kentucky play to their identity, and that's going to be kind of the football team they're going to be. There's obviously areas they need to improve, and the passing game is the big one. But they're going to want to run the ball, shorten the games, and they want to lean on their defense. And then hopefully the kicking game remains a strength. And I think they had a good first performance. Aiden Laros was really helped flip the field, I thought, a couple times. But we saw Kentucky play to their identity. There's just, I think, to complement that identity, they need the passing game to give them just some more. And that's really the big thing on top of, I would some other areas, specifically like if you get into kind of that middle range, which I thought they did on that one possession when they go 3 incompletions in a row, like you've got to at least they didn't even give themselves, you got to make the decision harder, I think, on the 4th down. Like it's an easy call, I think, in a game for Mark Stoops to say punt it. But if it's 4th and 5 or 4th and 6, I think it's, I think the kick and to go for it come into play more there. So I think there's some areas that they need to improve on. Obviously, taking the safety, you can't take a safety there. But that's what Kentucky is going to be. And that's what they told us all offseason. We've got these big tailbacks, experienced tailbacks. We're going to hand the football off. We've rebuilt this offensive line. We spent money to rebuild it. And then we're still, our defensive philosophy has not really changed. We're still going to be the kind of same defense. And we feel like maybe this year we have more havoc, I think, creation potential on the defense because of some of what they have up front from a pass rush standpoint.
The explosives didn't come as frequently as we'd like, so it's a little bit harder to tell. When you took that second look at the play of the offensive line, Van, what did you think about the big hogs up front?
I think overall they played well. Now, I'm not going to lie, and I always say the other team's on scholarship too. Both tackles had some instances where they got abused by the opponent's defensive end. But overall, the interior played well. Burton didn't have any bad snaps, which I heard from you guys. I think that there were some issues in camp with snapping. No bad snaps. Look, guys, when you have only 3 penalties, and I don't think any of them was a holding penalty, that was a pretty good game by our O-line. I don't want to say consistently, but for the majority of the time, they set another line of scrimmage on Toledo's side of the ball. And if we can get that push consistently with these 2 running backs, and I'll say this is the one thing I think Seth had issues with, is I think it was his first game back, real competition. He was a little jittery and wasn't patient enough. I know there's 2 runs where Adam said where he only had 7. There were 2 runs where I think he could have busted a 15 or 20 yarder. But he was so impatient, hitting the hole too hard, and that negated the awesome blocking by the O-line and his potential having bigger runs. But for the grand scheme of things, the O-line did a really good job.
Yeah, I don't know how much of it was that's just how he is as a runner, where he's kind of Tasmanian devil-like, and it just – or he's just excited to be back out there. He couldn't keep his footing.
Just wasn't keeping his feet under him. I think when you see a running back slip like that, your mind's going faster than your feet, or maybe vice versa, however you want to phrase it.
Right.
But he just wasn't in control. I think once he settles down, I think you'll see some of those runs. Because specifically, I think in the beginning, first 2 drives, like he got outside on some of the gap schemes, and there was room to run, and he's just the feet coming out from underneath him, looked like a dog on hardwood floor a little bit when he hears the mailman's coming. But I think with the run game overall, I think it was just a good building block for what they want to be this season. I think you see with Dowdell specifically, I think we know McGowan has some of that explosiveness. And to Van's point, I think like playing clean football is going to be something this football team really needs to do. And we've heard Mark Stoops talk about toughness, discipline. And to me, really what that comes down to is not making mistakes and being able to grind out first downs and kind of control the clock. And you can't do that if you're committing penalties. And that was an issue for them last year.
We've got more issues to talk about, but I don't want to start off on the wrong foot, because a lot of people, it's your first instinct, right, is just be pissed off about the passing game, only completing 10 passes and the fumbles and the safeties. And, there's a long list. We don't have to get to it right away because I do want to spend some time on more of the positive, and that was the defense looked pretty good. Especially that pass rush because, PFF graded it out as the best in all of Power Conference football. They had like a 91 grade. And I like that it came from a lot of different angles, like Sakram Souls obviously kind of steals the show, but it felt like Gleason, a guy who's pretty mobile and is good at extending plays, keeping his head downfield. Like he really only got on that touchdown run. That was really the only time he was able to take advantage of getting somebody kind of caught in no man's land. They did a good job of applying pressure on him all day. And that's something that you should expect moving forward. That doesn't look like a one-off. So I was very encouraged by the pass rush. And Drew, that's something that like travels well, right? Like, all right, if they can consistently get after opposing quarterbacks, then, you can create some havoc like they did on the second snap of the game, forcing that turnover.
Yeah, you mentioned Souls. Love that guy. 2 strip sacks, both in the first half, I think. And then this was a defense I want to start getting some takeaways. Takeaways were down last year, and then Gleason's first throw of the game, you get the interception that sets up the touchdown. Thank God they had that. It's 10-2 in the third quarter, and we really needed that interception. But also my big defensive takeaway, it's easy. I mean, he had a million tackles, but Alex Safari's debut in a bigger, newer role really shined in that spot with 13 tackles, career high for him. I mean, he was absolutely all over the place. I love seeing he and Rayner, kind of our first look at those guys there. I love the way they looked, even if it was just Toledo. They were flying all over the place.
Yeah, and we questioned it, if Afari could be that guy. Because that's kind of the MO of the Stoops defense, right? Like, in hell, a lot of defensive lines eating up blocks, allowing the linebackers to fill the run. And they fit the run, right? It wasn't just Afari making tackles on the edge. He's meeting Chip Trainum in the hole and driving him backwards. And you can't have a good pass rush if they're just running it and getting into 3rd and 2. Like, you have to get in obvious passing situations. And I want to say – it was 4 out of 9. I don't know what the final drive chart was, but at least they started that way where, here we go. 3 and out, 2 and out, 3 and out, long drive, 3 and out, long drive, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Like they were getting off the field in a hurry because that run defense was able to let the pass rush kind of tee off on Gleason.
Yeah, I mean, until the fourth quarter, they only had 1 drive over 7 plays. So they were getting off the field pretty quickly, to your point. I think the linebacker specifically, the run defense cratered last year. The defensive line had something to do with that, but they did not get, I would say, efficient play from that second unit. There was a lot of misfits and a lot of just wide open lanes for, Auburn and Louisville games stand out really the most. And so they've got to run fit better, but I think you saw it with Afari. I think you see the vision, Nick, why they made the move. Like, that's the vision. Like, you get a guy with that athleticism that can run east to west and then can strike when he arrives to the ball carrier.
Van, when you're looking at the pass rush on tape, what really popped for you?
We need to give credit to the guys who don't get credit. It's like when Josh Allen had his breakout season, Quentin Bohanna didn't get the attention he should have. Because what happens is if you don't have any push up the middle, the quarterback can step up in pocket and avoid the Souls, the Boogies, the Josh Allen. Gutsta, Humphrey Grace, Saunders Hayes deserves so much credit in this game because they had a consistent push up the middle, and Gleason couldn't find that open void to attack the line of scrimmage and then potentially, extend the play a little bit. He did a few times, but that push up the middle helped Souls out a lot. And those 4 guys need to get a lot more credit.
Yeah, and then, I mean, hell, even on the interception, Sam Green doesn't get a notch in the sack column, but he's pushing the tackle into the quarterback. And hell, you saw it a couple of times where the bull rush is just forcing the quarterback to let it rip. And even though it doesn't show up in the stat column, they're there. I didn't I didn't realize this today, but you don't get a quarterback hurry if the pass is completed. This is something I learned today. I'm doing this a while. I didn't realize that was the case. So
Hurry should be a hurry.
Yeah, you hit
Speaking
the
of that
quarterback.
line,
Yeah, come on.
Speaking of that line, I was hoping we'd get a better update on Humphrey Grace today. We didn't really talk about it, but as we were doing our rapid reaction, we saw him leaving the stadium. So booted up pretty good on crutches.
Yeah.
I was hoping Stoops would give us a litlittle more there.
Then we'll see.
Yeah.
Day to day.
Day to day.
Availability reports this week. So a good reminder there, SEC,
Yeah.
because the SEC game, we will get availability reports this week.
Okay.
So we'll see where he stands Wednesday, and then as it goes to the weekend.
Yeah, he was a lot. Like, I hadn't seen him since the spring, really. Like, I hadn't been in any interviews. Filled out quite a bit. He's looking swole. Hopefully that ankle wasn't swollen though, because they could certainly use him against Ole Miss's passing attack. We'll talk about that more as the show goes on. But I'm let's take off the handcuffs a little bit. I felt horrible after that game. I felt terrible. Like, just watching that offensive operation, and I know Stoops is like, oh, no penalties. It was clean and da 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 da. I couldn't watch that and just be like, oh man, I feel great about where Kentucky is, because it felt like the only effective passing attack they had was throw crossing routes to tight ends, and that was it. Like, I got flashbacks of Devin Leary chucking deep balls to Barryon Brown, and half of them are out of bounds and never have a chance. Like, it was very frustrating that nothing seemed to come easy. And furthermore, like, even when they're trying to do the way, like, all right, let's run a screen here. Let's do a little pop pass. Like, those didn't even look like they had a chance. And I swear to God, why are we going 5 wide on third down? Like, Kentucky is not a 5-wide team, all right? It's the same. This is very much going back to my 2A high school football. But, like, when we went 5 wide, you think we were throwing? No, quarterback draw every time. When you go 5 wide and you're not a 5-wide team, you're doing something that you normally don't do. And you know what? It's pretty predictable what's going to happen, and it's not going to work out well. I was very frustrated by the passing attack, and it's not like they were small misses either, right? Like, of course, Hester, if is a bang review, maybe they got it right, maybe they got it wrong. But even if they connect on that, and they connect
110 passing yards, yeah, 9 of 23, yes,
right. Like, even if they connect on that, and even if they connect on the one to Gilmore where it's just out of his fingertips, like, I don't feel overly optimistic about what this passing game can be, because, like, can Bush Hamden create easy opportunities for this passing offense? Because
can they execute them when they have it, teed up too? That's something we didn't really find out week 1.
No,
the execution. I mean, yeah, there's frustration with the play calling, but obviously, like, there's some execution, like the one Calzada interception. He just Troy Stellato gets beat to the spot on what looked like double slants on that play. And Calzada's hot, right? They had slide left protection. If you go back and watch that, Calzada's hot. He's got to get the ball out fast. And Van will say this, if your receiver is, running a quick route like that, when the ball's got to come out fast, you cannot get beat to the spot. You just can't. And so, like, that's simple execution, and that's what they were trying to get in the portal more than anything, was just dependability and experience. That didn't show up first week.
And I know some of it too, Van, is it's like, well, the receivers got to get open. I don't think these guys were available because they're experts at getting open. So, like, can you scheme them stuff? I'll tip my cap to him on the one play, and it felt like it was going to be the start of something good. That ball that he layered into Macklin on the third down, right over the top, that was nice. But, like, I don't have a lot of other points of evidence to point to that say, okay, this can get better. Am I talking crazy here, or is there easy stepping stones to improvement for this passing offense.
Yeah, look, what I say last show we had, tight ends are going to be the answer. And I think, I'll just say from a defensive back standpoint, once you rely on a tight end and a guy who can truly get open on his own, Wandale was explosive. Wandale helped Will Levis because no matter what the play call was, I trust that he's going to get open. So then if I can trust a tight end can get open, now what happens is that allows the outside receiver a little more space because they're going to have to either bracket or roll coverage or do something to take away that guy. Until we get that guy, it's going to be a problem on the outside because I'm going to be honest with you. I knew Toledo, it was the word on the street was Toledo secondary is a great secondary. They proved me wrong because I'm like, it's still Toledo secondary. And when they went man-to-man on our outside receivers, our guys did not create any separation. So there's a lot of times when Zach threw the ball deep. Zach didn't want to throw the ball deep. But when you're in man-to-man, you know you have no safety over the top. When your comeback is not open, when your out route is not open, who am I going to throw it to? The safest bet is to throw it to the deep route and hope we can get a PI. We need better separation. I don't know if that's route running or if that's talent level. Whatever it is, that consistently, those Toledo's DBs handled us in one-on-one situation. And if you can't win one-on-one in this conference, Auburn is a problem. I know we're looking ahead, but every year Auburn DBs are a problem. If the refs are not going to call the game close, we might get negative yards.
I mean, it's Labor Day, right? This is our second Stoops press conference of the week. And Drew, how long did it take us to bring up Cutter Bowley?
No, not long. We knew this was coming, but I didn't think it'd be this fast.
I mean, very fast.
My thing was, and I said all summer, I was like, that Toledo game, win and get out. I don't care what it looks like. You won't hear a peep from me. I will not complain. Get to 1-0. Let me see what it looks like, and I'll be happy. On the way home, I wasn't very happy. I think I lied to myself a little bit. There's different levels of confidence. There's the confidence that I had from April to 2 weeks before the season started. That was pretty realistic. It was 4 or 5 wins. Then, like you, Nick, and some of our others, I might have had a little bit of too much of the Kool-Aid as we're getting close to the game. The weather got cold. I put on a hoodie, had a pot of chili, and then I got us to 6 wins. Now I'm wishing I could delete every reference to me saying 6 wins. I had too much Kool-Aid. I would like to get that Kool-Aid out and be realistic again. And leaving that stadium on Saturday, I had a feeling, not trying to overreact too much because it was game 1. I feel like it's going to be a long year. That offense did not give me much hope.
Well,
One game, Toledo safeties, I get it. And honestly, it might just be the play call with our back against the goal line for a safety. That was like elementary school stuff that you don't do. I think that's one that's lingering with me that we kind of glossed over. But
yeah,
just the offense really had me in a bad place on my way home. Thank God for that 72-yard run.
And I do want to say this: just take Toledo out of it. They could have been playing whoever. It was a lot of the same mistakes we saw last year, like self-inflicted mistakes, getting behind the chains in key situations, just the operation just not making sense. Like, how do you take a safety there? Like, that just can't. It just can't happen. And so it's little things like that. It just makes you wonder, like, what's going on here? Because it shouldn't be this clunky, and it just felt clunky, and it just felt like we were watching kind of the same thing. Ball security, right, Nick, was a huge talking point. Stoops even brought it up today. And Stoops said how we have to start winning the turnover margin, right? And a lot of that's on, the defense needs to force more takeaways, but the offense has had major ball security issues really kind of the last 3, 4, 5 seasons. In first game, you come out, right, and you have a, I put safety in kind of that same kind of thing.
Yeah.
You have a safety, you have an interception, and you have a fumble, and you have them not like you have 3, but you have them on 3 consecutive possessions.
Right.
Like, just can't happen. It's yakety sack.
And that safety, any kid that's played the video game knows you just run in between the tackles and don't take a safety there. What are we doing?
Well, and I know that after the game, they're saying Zach has to hand it off there. Well, then make it the play call that he has to hand it off. Don't give him the option. Chase Goodbread, he's a Alabama writer, right? Like he used to do draft. I used to follow him for that. And so now I get random Alabama updates from this guy. But he did the very basic research of, hey, when you hand the ball, like when you're at the goal line, is it better off if you're under center or in shotgun? And you all will be so shocked to hear that getting the snap 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage is actually less productive than being at the line of scrimmage when you snap the ball. The same applies. Yeah, wild that that's how it works, right? Like if you get under center and snap it, you're more likely to get more yards than if you're in shotgun when you're near the goal line. But this same applies here where like, how deep into the end zone was it Dowdell or McGowan, whoever the running back was? The damn heels were like basically on. He was having to run 10 yards just to get out of the end zone. Like I don't, and like that was bad. That 3 minute segment, that three drive segment, that was bad. But to go back to your point, Luckett, about the issues of like that we've just keep seeing pop up. I don't know much about Bush Hamden, the play caller, and I've tried to refrain from judgment because all the excuses we gave him, they were excuses. But you get 5 yards, you get 6 yards, you get to, I don't know if it was quite a scoring opportunity, but you're fringe in field goal range for the first 2 drives of the second half. And then you just start throwing the ball around the yard. And like that's the part that I think I have bigger long-term concerns about Bush Hamden, the play caller, because it's like, well, what are we trying to do here? Like I don't what's the goal? Like let Zach throw it some because the running thing was working well, or like we do a play action and give him an easy throw, like that the lack of I know the goal, Van, is to score points. But, like, that's, like, the big goal. It's like, what are your in-betweens, your steps to get there? And I just don't know if what Bush's steps are to reach this goal, to make it work, because it doesn't feel like there's anything that is cohesive where there's multiple parts working together to get those points on the scoreboard.
And real quick, they had 1st and 10 at the Toledo 39, came back. They had 1st and 10 at Toledo 44, consecutive possessions in the third quarter, got 0 points.
Yep. That's a pro. Look, man. Offensive coordinators, calling plays is a skill set that is so underappreciated. Here's the other thing about play callers is sometimes play callers get too cute, because if you're a gambler, you're playing the odds. You are saying that what if the defense comes into a coverage, into a scheme that is going to make it hard for our O-line to block. So what happens is if we're so successful in running the ball, eventually we're going to have to pass it because they are going to load the box. So sometimes in those situations, you feel like I have to pass the ball. The problem is we didn't execute well. And when we did execute, we had a fumble. I'm going to say this. For me, that fumble by Wilrod, which I'm on the bandwagon. You guys, I'm on the bandwagon. When that fumble took the air out of everything, because it ended up with 2 bad drives in a row. And for to have some success with a great play call, great route, great pass, their player made a great play. But when he fumbled, that was the end of creating rhythm. Now, what is me as a play caller? I just missed out. We had 3 plays interception. We had 1 play safety. We had 2 play fumble. I lost probably 10 plays to get a bead on the defense because we self-inflicted wounds. So now I'm scattered because, okay, the run game is working, but are they going to stop the run? Should I do play action? Should I try to run again? Then we end up in 2nd and 9. That doesn't look good either. So you plan the averages, and look, I can call plays. and people get mad if they don't execute well. I can call plays, and they can be the best plays in the world. If they don't execute, fans are going to get on me. I'm sitting on $1 million worth of pay. I'm not as bothered, but sometimes your players have to save your butt too. Sometimes I make a bad call. You got to save me. Sometimes I make a great call. You better execute and score or make a big play. I think all players didn't do well this weekend in executing a lot of plays that were called.
Can I just add that I like listening to Van talk about football?
Yeah,
It's been this way since you've been putting out the clips forever. I don't know if there's a little bit of Louisiana in there. Obviously very knowledgeable, but I could just listen to Van talk about football all day long.
I like what Arixis says in the chat. How do professionals not see the same issues of predictability that commentators do? Are they missing something, or are the armchair critics? And maybe some of that's just the perspective that you get, like when you're not in the middle of the fog of war. But at times it's just like,
can I say something, Nick? Can I
Yeah.
say something? All right.
Yeah.
I want people to harken back to 2019 when we lost Terry Wilson and we lost Sawyer Smith. Everybody in the stadium, everybody on Mars, everybody anywhere that's watching football knew who was getting the ball. Guess what? No one stopped it. Guess why? Because those players execute. I'm going to say this. As a player, there might not be confidence either. I know one thing in that 2019 season, those players were confident of what they were running. It was simplified. They probably only had 20 plays. We're going to run what we do well. And they were all runs.
Identity.
All runs. So maybe we are flooding the players with too much on their plate. Maybe we need to simplify, because we all knew. I could have guessed what was going to happen when he's playing 2019. It was going to be a run.
Yeah. They're running counter and draw. Try to QB power. Try to stop it.
Exactly.
I think with this, I think Van brings up a good point, and I think the 21 offense is obviously a perfect example of that. That it was Cohen did his thing, and he dressed it in a certain way and added some elements, but at the base of it, it was that offense was get number 1 and get number 24 of the football, and we'll live with the results. Get 100-something catches and get 24 of the football, and we'll live with the results. I think with this team, and I think some with last year's team, I think there's not the feature guys, and it's been hard for them to kind of create and find an identity, because it's almost like when you're holding those cards, you're at the control board and you're having to press a lot of buttons instead of having to press just a couple buttons repeatedly. I feel like that is an issue, and that's why I think they really got to find the identity. I think they know they want, in some capacity, these two tailbacks to carry a very big load this season, and then it's going to be how they complement that and how they build a passing game off of that is what they're trying to figure out really right now. But that's ultimately, I think, been their biggest issue, and I think you can add some of the coordinator churn is the offensive identity's just been a little scattered, and they have not had the go-to or feature guys. And I think they tried it with Denke and Barry and Brown last year. It just didn't work, and they signed Chip Trainum to be that, and he was never on the field. And so that's something that I think they've struggled with the last couple of years, because it's just easier. Like if you're walking into a game and you're game planning, and all right, no matter what, I just need to get the ball to these two guys, and I know good things will happen more times than not. It's a lot easier, I think, to call plays when you don't have that. And specifically when you don't have that on top of a quarterback that you can't, that's new and all of that, I think it makes it harder. But you got to figure out something. They need to figure out something fast, because they've got to, at the end of the day, you've got to find a way to play to your team strength and find a way to win football games. They're going to have to figure something out fast.
Well, and part of I think what we're getting at too is you wanted this game to be an opportunity to create some of that identity, create some of that continuity, create some confidence within the offense. And by my count, 3 possessions of over 7 plays because of the turnovers and also the big play with Dowdell, where you I mean, they only ran like 60 plays, I want to say. That's just not – it's hard to figure out who you are when you're only running 66 plays a game. And Mark Stoops is never going to be one who runs a ton. But it goes back to, preseason thoughts, what was confirmed, and then what you still haven't learned. I felt a lot better about Ole Miss if you were going to use this Toledo game to really get your feet underneath you. I think they did that defensively. And offensively, it was like, we got about halfway there of what we want to do. But we're not really close where we need to be in order to play a team with the talent level like Ole Miss. So, yeah, my Ole Miss preseason prediction, I don't know if I'm feeling as confident about that one right now. But you know who's going to make you feel confident, though? It's my old Kentucky home repair. Whatever the case may be, you know that you will have your issue fixed in good confidence, whether it's just basic handyman services, home repairs. I don't know how to do any of that stuff, right? My old Kentucky home repairs, they know how to do all of that stuff. They've been proudly serving the Bluegrass region since 2008. They also do the big picture stuff too, whether it's a bathroom, kitchen remodel, whatever it may be. Head on over to myoldkyhomerepair.com to learn more about them, or give them a call at 859-940-3376. That's My Old Kentucky Home Repair. Like I said, the Cats, they will be taking on Ole Miss Saturday. 3:30 kickoff on ABC. Going to be a big one. Should be another great weather. Hopefully we get more fans out in the stands. It was all right crowd for week one. It's Labor Day. People got things going on. But Ole Miss, they did what they normally do against inferior foes, and that's run up the dang score. Scored a lot of points. Against Georgia State. But look at you. You saw a couple things that were maybe a vulnerability or two or three from the Rebels. Oh, muted. Yep, you get the mute button on. Yep. Nope. Oh no.
There he is. Yep.
Oh.
Nothing?
You there?
Is he out?
Oh yeah, he can't hear us either.
Oh, so we're talking to no one. Let's talk about him.
All right. So funny story though, quickly about Luckett while he can't hear it.
Check.
Oh, there we go.
Ah, dang. We're about to get a
Hooked
great
up to my iPhone for some reason. What are you going to talk? Are you talk smack over here? What's going on?
I do. I was going to tell him your deer story.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how to interpret it yet, but you can go ahead if you want to, or do you want me to tell it?
Yeah, you can go ahead and tell it because you were the one who had to live through it last year. This is a hell of an opener.
Week one, we leave the press box. What, 4 a.m., 3 a.m.
Very late. Yeah, the lightning storm and all that took us forever
drive
to get out
home. I'm probably not paying too close of attention. Just run into about 2 or 3 deer. Split them on the parkway. So I was like, well, that's a great start. So anyway, it ended up not being too bad. Car gets fixed, but then the football season just went how it went. Today, to the exact day, I'm driving to meet with Nick to make the drive to Louisville. 3 deer crossing the road. This time I see them. Stop. They mosey along their way. Is this a sign? Is this some omen? What sign is this? And how can I monetize this, Nick Rouse? I'm trying to figure out how I monetize this sign.
Taking TCU in the points tonight.
How do I monetize this? But yeah, that's my deer story.
Probably
it's
best.
Symbolic. It's symbolic of Kentucky football. We just need to slow down. Keep everything in front of us. Last year we were going a little too fast. Got a little away from it. Led to some wrecks. Now slow everything back. Be patient.
That's the best sign we got from week one.
Wow. Wow.
Is it a good sign that every time Kentucky plays Ole Miss, it's a close game? The margin, like the last 4 or 5 meetings, is like 10 points. Now, Ole Miss won most of those, but it was still a close game.
I would say one thing Kentucky did do well for most of the season was be able to affect quarterbacks and rattle them a little bit. I mean, even the Auburn game, like that got hairy for Auburn because they tried to throw it. A lot of bad stuff happened. We all know how the Georgia game played out. We know how the Ole Miss game played out. Austin Simmons is making his first start. He was a little turnover prone week 1. I don't know if that'll be a trend or not, but I think that's the path for Kentucky. You rattle their offense a little bit. Last 2 times you've played them, you've had a lot of success, I think, compared to most of their other competition. So there should be some confidence going in the game. We match up well on that side. And if you can rattle Simmons and win the turnover battle, I think you're going to have a real shot, specifically if you can come in here and run the ball and kind of control the game that way. But to me, it's like a styles make fights kind of game. Like if Kentucky gets Ole Miss to play on their terms, I think they've got a really, really, really good chance to win this game. If Ole Miss turns this into a track meet, it could get ugly, and it could get ugly fast. So I think winning that style war is going to be really important, I think, for both teams in this game. And that's typically, to me, that's usually kind of established early in the football game. So starting well and not getting in a hole, I think, is a big point of emphasis this week.
So what's more likely, Van, that the style does make a fight or that we have another week 2 disaster on ABC at Kroger Field?
No, style makes fights. The reason why we play them so well defensively is because we don't match up man to man. And that to me is the story, is that we don't allow them to get explosive plays. A team like that wants to get chunk plays, and we make them snap the ball. And that's the advantage that we have. Now, sometimes our corners do not play with great eyes, and especially our safeties. If they play like they played last year, which was the best game I've seen those guys play in a long time as far as discipline with their eyes. If they play like they played last season, I think it'll be another close one. But if we give up explosive plays after explosive play, that's when Lane Kiffin gets to roll, and then that's when the tempo goes. If you get them if they get big plays, guess what's going to happen? They up to the line of scrimmage, they get in the next play. If we make them grind it out, as not grind out like we play grind out the ball, but if we make them keep snapping the ball, that is to our advantage. And that's why we play well against certain teams, because we don't. Most SEC teams match up man to man on the perimeter. We don't. That's also a different style of play that most teams in this conference is not used to. So we can stay with that. I think this defense is going to make them turn it out, and that's when we get our turnovers.
I do like this suggestion we have in the chat from Nodwin. Just let Bush use the Ask Madden feature. Can we do that?
We may need to. I know what he wouldn't have picked on the goal line. Wouldn't have even been one of the 3 options on the screen.
Who's going to be
somewhere? Stephen Peek's in here wondering if ChatGPT could call.
Exactly. Peek is the one who wants ChatGPT to be a guinea pig to call plays for one of these lower level teams. Somebody's going to eventually do that, right?
You know what's crazy though with that play? If he just hands it off as a former option quarterback, getting into the running back is never a wrong decision. If he just hands it off, we're not talking about that play.
Yeah.
Like what brain cramp did you have with a blitzing DB coming right in your lap thinking, oh, I'm going to pull my Vince Young out the hat on this one. Like, what are you thinking, dude? You are Ben Roethlisberger, a little bit faster. And you think you're going to be able to get around a blitzing nickelback next week.
His hills were so far back. I think he had a hill on Nicholasville Road. He was so far back.
Yeah. I think what he thought, Van, was like, oh, this guy's coming. He's going to hit Dowdell. If I pull it here, I'm going to have an alley. My problem with that play was I don't think you should be in the pistol there. I think the back should be right next to you so you hit the mesh faster.
That's fair. I would say this.
If you hit the mesh faster, it's an obvious give, and he's up in there, in my opinion.
Yeah, and if he's next to you, you can ride the mesh a little longer. My thing is this, and this is modern day football. We just gotta get used to it. There are teams that get on the 2-yard line and they're in the shotgun because that's what they're used to. So
you gotta do what you do well and what you're comfortable with.
Exactly. And that's just the name of the game nowadays. But my thing is, dude, as a quarterback, situational football, time and place, knowing that situation, I don't care. For me as a quarterback, I want to always have the option. But me as a quarterback in that situation, I'm giving it 99.99% of the time because I'm on the 2-yard line. There's no advantage of me taking the ball. We want to get to the 5-yard line, at least give me a little bit of room to operate. He should have never even considered pulling it. Ever. As an option quarterback, that's never a pull.
You said it, you want to do what you do well. And that's the part that I wanted to have a better idea of after week 1 that I don't, and like 5 yards is good. I remember running the wing tee. If we get 4 yards every play, that's a first down. But like there has to be, especially when you know that your passing game isn't exactly a strong suit. Like you have to be able to get a little bit more than that, right? Like you can't just do 4 yards cloud at us, 4 yards cloud at us. There needs to be some 10s and some 12s and some 9s like sprinkled in there. And a lot of that wasn't sprinkled in there enough for me. I need some more toppings with my ice cream, like just sprinkle here, we'll sprinkle there.
What do you think the atmosphere is going to be like, Nick?
Yeah.
Did they win anyone over?
No.
Did they run anyone off?
I don't. That's the other part too. Is like I don't know if the Toledo game was going to change the minds of anybody in reality. And going into this too, I was kind of like, the second half's probably going to get ugly. Then they turn it on, and win, probably cover. Hell, they might even hit 30, which they almost did both. So I think it was going to be a pretty solid atmosphere to start. What I worry about is something that Luckett's mentioned quite a bit is what happens if, you're getting in a drive 4 and then you're punting it again and you're just going nowhere fast. Like how quickly does the switch flip where everybody's just like, screw this? Because I do feel like that fuse, it didn't get any longer after week 1. Like
we're getting
very short fuse.
We're getting close.
And there were some boo birds last week. Not many, but they were there.
And
it's gonna be a good atmosphere because to me, like if you bought tickets for this year, you're going to this game. It's 3:30. It's the first real tailgate opportunity. It's early in the year. I think it's gonna have a good crowd. It'll be a good atmosphere. It'll just be. I worry, like to Nick's point, like what happens if you get out here and the offense is it's just not what they're doing is just not working. Specifically in like if the game's close and it's just like, come on, come on.
Missouri,
that's
2018,
where it could get interesting.
That sort of deal where it's like the defense keeps getting 3 and outs. Are you ever going to do something? And that I do feel like they'll never say this out loud, but I felt like that was why the defense ultimately gave up towards the back end of last year. It wasn't just the injuries. It was we can't be doing this every game where we're playing 80 plays and we're doing our part, but you aren't doing yours. Like you do not want to get that point because that's when it gets toxic, man. And you know all that all the time.
I've been there. I've been there before. You don't know. My senior year, I can't count on 2 hands the amount of team meetings I had to call to squash turmoil. It is a locker room issue, and on one hand, coaches tell us, our job is to not let them score. If they don't score, they can't win. But then in the human nature comes in like, dude, as Adam said, we gave you the ball in the 44, 30, and we got no points. Like, when are we gonna get a bone? But I have a question, and you guys will know more than I. Didn't we get a big tight end from somewhere? Can't remember where he came from, transfer portal. Did he not play in this game?
87
Henry Boyer?
Yeah, he's a block first player, but yeah.
Okay, so my question is this for y'all as fans. If we line up in 23 personnel, we put Seth and Dante in the game with Willie, Caddis, and Boyer, and we just go straight downhill. But we eat up 40 minutes of the clock, and we only win 6-3. Are people going to be happy with that as fans?
Yeah, in this instance, I think people are happy when you win, but as soon as you lose, it's the low hanging fruit, right? Like
Right.
they haven't won an SEC home game in a while, and it's a ranked team coming in here. People are going to be smitten no matter how you win a football game. But I think that's going to be just that is one of the bigger criticisms that they're just going to face whenever things don't go well, is that the offense just not good enough in most people's opinions.
Right.
Well, and that's as long as it does end in that win, because that ultimately, if you have that 5-7 year that most people predicted,
Mm-hmm.
your sentiment, Van, like it's one thing to just be like not very good, but it's harder when you're not very good and it's also very boring to watch because you just can't run offense.
Gotcha.
Well, because like what the Bowden thing, like ahead last week's press conference, Toledo was the first game of the 2019 season, and
Wow. Yeah.
Stoops is talking about how good they were looking until Terry got hurt and like thought they could have a really good year. I would argue, like, not to say like I'm glad Terry Wilson got hurt, but the craziness that happened from that year, that 7-6, or no, it was 7-5, and then they won. They made it 8-5.
Yes.
But like the 7-5 with Lynn Bowden was exponentially better than a 7-5 with Terry Wilson. And it's just like kind of because at least it was fun, it was different, and you were able to whoop people's ass because what you did very well, and that was entertaining. It's the sort of like just laboring to do anything that I think it makes it hard to have some sort of positive outlook because you aren't able to hang your hat on something offensively.
Gotcha.
And that was fresh off a 10-3 season, and you felt like they overachieved in a big way. Like you felt like they got handed a bad, they got dealt a very bad hand, and it didn't matter. They figured it out. I think it was honestly, I think probably the most reward from a fan perspective. I think it was one of the more rewarding seasons because it was unexpected in a lot of ways, and they just became really, really fun to watch, and they ended it. They just blasted Louisville, and you won a really fun bowl game against a name opponent. It was really fun because for the biggest reason, I think they just overachieved expectations.
Okay.
And a win on Saturday, it's a good way to overachieve, to exceed expectations. And, Drew, you and I, we're on the wrong side of the fence right now. Beating Ole Miss, I'll get on the other side of that fence. Hit some of those deep balls. Hell yeah. Toot, jump, hop on the hype train. We're right back on. Like they are just one win away from it. It's just hard to get there because they haven't been there. What is it like at 3-15?
3-15 since they beat LSU at home against power conference teams.
Wow. Yeesh.
It's a long time.
Jeez.
And we're
7 straight SEC losses.
We all would have preferred a little bit better of a start, but it is week one, and there is a little bit of 50 new players getting it figured out. I think I saw, might have been Steven, but on our own YouTube chat here, someone brought up South Carolina last year, almost lost to Old Dominion in week one. And then we saw what we saw what they turned into. So there's a little bit of me that knows that was the first game, and we can be surprised by a much better performance here in a few days on Saturday against Ole Miss. I'm not expecting it, but it could happen. As I mentioned, in the last 4 times you played Ole Miss, it's been like a 1-point game and then 3 straight games by a field goal. One went to overtime. It's not a team you're afraid of. You've got the revenge factor with Kiffin bringing here to add a little extra juice. So even though I wanted a little more from them against Toledo, I'm not going to surrender to an Ole Miss team that has a new quarterback that threw 2 interceptions against Georgia State last week. I think it'll still be a good game, even though I'm not quite as optimistic as I'd love to be.
TJ in the chat says we need to get Wilcox at least 8 to 10 carries a game. That's a guaranteed touchdown, at least one of those touches. Got some bad news for you about Wilcox. He's not with the team right now. He was not dressed on the sidelines. And John Hale, the Herald Leader, uncovered that he has a domestic violence hearing on Wednesday. So Yeah, don't expect him to be playing anytime soon. And even if he was available, I don't think he was going to get 8 to 10 carries a game. This is a McGowan and then my Dowdell show, and then Patterson had even played his way into RB3 in their absence during those scrimmages.
Yeah, it's tough. You go from fan favorite last year, people demanding more Wilcox, and now it's week 2, and he's got a court date. And who knows if we'll see him again? Very unlikely. Unfortunate. Whatever happened there, and it's on him a lot. It's unfortunate, a guy with so much potential.
Well, you know what? Wilcox's career is reminiscent of the first drive in Louisville last year. He churned out like an 8-yard run, churned out like a 10-yard run. Now we're getting hyped, and then he gets to rip the ball ripped off from his arms in the first drive. It's like you get so excited. You're like up here with you. Hey, we finally found. And all of a sudden, guy ripped the ball from his arms, and now it's a turnover. Now they're going the other way. It is unfortunate that guy cannot get it right, man, because he is by far the best running back talent, skill set, deepest toolbox in the room. But that toolbox has no handles. There's no handles. Like, come on, man. What can we do to get you on the field, man? It's one thing after another. God.
And there's some kids who are just like that. They can't get out of their own way. And it just and they've given him chances. You know, Stoops has been in his corner, and he just can't figure it out. Sucks.
You know, one guy who's got it figured out, though, Nick? I got to give a shout-out before we go away, since we haven't mentioned him. The South African punter had a hell of a game Saturday. I don't want to be Steve Spurrier and compliment Kentucky's punter, but what a great game one for the guy who should have been starting game one last year. So shout out Aiden LaRose. What did he average? Like 44 yards a punt?
Yep.
Should have had one down inside the 3. I think he had 3 inside the 10, outside of the one that bounced out. Great game by our specialist.
Kicker, a 54-yarder?
Kicker, 1 for 1. I think it's 45-yard field goal.
Yeah.
Shout out to specialists.
Lane
Kiffin is shaking right now after watching tape on Jacob Coway and Aiden LaRose.
45.2 yard net, which is an outstanding number.
That is outstanding.
I really wanted them to test out Cowie's leg on one of those drives in the third quarter. So you said he could.
That's why he's there.
Stoops said if it was an 8-point game, I would have tried it. It was an 8-point game. So, you know, he gets it in his mind. He's just this old school defensive coach. He's wanting to play field position. Like, dude, if your defense is playing well, then you should be fine if you give them some field position because you should be confident they'll get the stop. So try from 57.
I think he meant if it wasn't an 8-point lead, because if it's an 8-point lead, you give them the ball on the 50-yard line, they have a short field. I hope that's what he meant, because if not, that makes no sense. If you're up 8, you punt them down, make them drive the field. But yeah, I'm not kicking a field goal at 60-yarder when I'm only up 8. If I'm up 14, I might try.
What if you have Jacob Coway though?
I want to see him try.
Automatic.
I don't care if I have Justin Tucker.
Just run it on 2nd or 3rd down, and then make it a decision.
That's a wild choice. Just run the damn ball.
Just don't be in 3rd and 10, 4th and 10. You give yourself a chance, because if it's honestly, it sounds silly, but if you have 3 extra yards, it's a totally different decision.
Makes a difference for sure.
Let's hope. I don't. You know, there's some of us on here who might feel a little bit. I'm not feeling great. I don't think a lot of people around Big Blue Nation are feeling great about their Cats after the week 1 win, but it was a win. Disaster was averted. There's a lot good, particularly defensively, to like about where this team sits going into the Ole Miss game. They can get Rebels rattled, and the offense, you know, takes steps forward. Hey, we could be talking about something crazy this time a week from now, right? We talking about something
possible.
Crazy. Yeah,
it's not impossible.
Let's hope so. It's a lot more fun when the Cats are rocking, when they're rolling. No matter what, though, no matter what happens, we're going to be here every Monday afternoon talking about it all on the KSR Football Podcast. For Drew Franklin, Adam Luckett, he's Van Hals. We'll see y'all next week. Happy Labor Day, Big Blue Nation.